All right, Barry, it's showtime.
It's showtime, Phil.
It's showtime, baby.
It's showtime, baby.
It's showtime, folks.
Come on, Bubba, it's showtime.
Showtime, bitch. Showtime. Hey, Ringo, showtime. Okay, Trey, showtime.
Showtime, Trail.
Showtime.
Showtime. Showtime.
Showtime. Don't say it. Please, don't say it.
No, I have to say it, Mitch. Showtime.
Ed Berliner, the fastest show in sports.
Greetings, true believers. Welcome back to the fastest show in sports. I am your host. I am your ringmaster, Ed Berliner. The gentleman sitting next to me, former New York Times, former Washington Post, former ESPN, and the man with the greatest set of eyeballs in the world that he covers up with a blue-screened set of sunglasses. For those of you watching on YouTube, he is incognito today for fear that anything he says may be held against him in a court of law or public opinion. That is Mike Wise. You're not really doing a great job disguising yourself, but it's a nice try. I got to give you that.
You know, at some point the Wise files are going to be released, and I just got to be as far away from the U.S. as possible.
Have you ever thought about the fact that all the stuff that we've gone through in our careers, the different stories, the different people we've known, the interviews we've done, the people we've worked with, that if we decided to write a book or really release files on it, I mean, it would be scorched earth from one side of the country to the other with all the stuff that we could tell. We need to come up with files, Mike. You need to do that. You need to hold it against people and threaten their lives with it. It's the way things are done these days.
I've never been a strip club guy, Ed. It's not because I necessarily are opposed to naked women dancing in my lap, but I just, for whatever reason, but I was so scarred that like younger when I just figure if I meet a woman, like I'm going to try and talk her into a relationship, and then or else I figured I would try to break up a fight in a strip bar and I get shot, and it's just like, you know, dying in a strip bar is just it's ignominious. It's like inglorious. I can't do that. So, but I did go to a place called the Mons Vina with a bunch of writers and broadcasters. I can't name any names, but I could literally take out any nude parts, take out any possible laugh dance. I could write a screenplay about how funny it was, some of the interactions, for a couple people that had never been to one. It was just fun. I can't even tell you.
You froze for a second there, so I wanted to make sure people knew exactly what you were talking about. You're talking about the legendary Mons Venus in Tampa, Florida, which is located right on the strip that leads up to the stadium. And I'm with you. There were a couple of times, I'm not a strip club guy either, but I haven't been for a long, long time. But back then, when everybody was gathering, Mons Venus was the place to go. And I'm just like you. I could sit down right now. Right now, I could sit here and I could write at least 10 names of people that you would never expect to see in a strip club, including some female reporters as well. And I could make a real stink about it, but why? It was too much fun back then, and I don't think anybody's it was camaraderie.
Marriage
baby.
Broke up over it, and it was at that point we were in a less restrictive environment, and there weren't cameras around and everything else. But At any rate, we can move on.
I got to tell you,
we need. This is gonna be the fastest show in sports today.
Yeah, because we got a lot to cover. We got a long way to go and a short time to get there. So I have to say, we need to begin any conversation with the most salient, the most critical, the most momentous thing that has happened in the last couple of days. Without question, without doubt, it is the debut of the new season of South Park. I mean, everything else ends and stops when South Park comes on the air. I've been that way for whatever number of years they've been on the air. And once again, Mike, they didn't disappoint. Hey, Mike, the First Amendment is alive in America right now. It's good. You can actually say something and get away with it on television. Somebody call Stephen Colbert.
It is the irony of Paramount paying essentially $1.2 $2.5 billion to
1.5,
the South
yeah.
Park franchise to for 5 years to be a major content creator, and then getting rid of the Colbert Show. And the first thing that the South Park people come up with is, Trump naked in the desert with a micro penis. You can't make that up. And there was no cease and desist. This is when I say this is the one point. I did the podcast with Michelle Tafoya, total opposite ends of the spectrum. We found common ground over just being a human being. But I can't agree with everything said on the right, but I have to agree with the fact that we still do live in a free country. Because if this video was of Putin in Russia, before noon, that person would have been castrated or in a penal colony in somewhere. The South Park guys would have been in a penal colony. In the U.S., seething and trying to find a way to put them in a penal colony. But so I think it's a great lesson in, okay, yes, hate speech sometimes is disguised as free speech. Really brutal comedy speech is disguised.
Well, yeah, that's just it, Mike.
Free
This
speech.
was not.
I mean, you can't make that stuff up. Another thing is, some guy said, "I hate Trump because." No, and somebody said I was like awful human being for even liking that. And I'm like, if we're at a point where you can't laugh at yourself, I'm not saying Trump had to, but if you can't, as a MAGA supporter, laugh at that, then we got another thing coming in this country.
Well, that's just it. It's not just the MAGA supporters. It's everybody. Nobody can laugh anymore. I've worked with comedians my entire career, and we've talked about this. I wrote columns about this, where we all have to just back up, take a breath, and laugh at ourselves. Comics hit the edge. They go right to that edge, and sometimes they go right over it, and it's insulting, and it's nasty, and sometimes it's racial, and sometimes it's sexual, but that's what comics do. South Park has been doing this now for decades, and as a guy who watches them religiously, I can tell you that this is right in what the thinking is. As soon as this happened, I'm thinking to myself, these guys are going to come out of the box with a season opener that is going to rake Donald Trump. And I mean, most of it you can't repeat on any kind of normal air. I was listening to CNN this morning, and they were talking about it, and they're showing clips from it. And they showed like the only two clips that you could actually use from it and get away with it. It is brutal, but it is hysterical. We just got to laugh at ourselves and stop with this nonsense, because I'll tell you, here's the next thing, Mike. This was just the season opener. I mean, can you imagine what these guys have got cooked for the rest of the year? And the way they do their animation, they can pretty much lead up to a news item, and they're only like a day off. Maybe when they actually get into their production, they can do this right up until the last minute. This is going to be the best season ever for South Park.
You're looking at one of the benefits of AI. It will eventually replace humans. We will be, we are doomed civilization. But before that happens, there's going to be a lot of moments that we can create video like this that is nowhere near the truth. And some people that aren't hip to AI are going to go, "Oh my God, did that really happen?" And it's great. It's just wonderful. It's amazing. And the only thing I'm worried about is, like, we got all these bots, now that AI has created, and what do you do if you're like some poor kid in Kyrgyzstan, and you used to work in one of these Russian bot factories? You're out of work, buddy. AI has replaced you.
I'm waiting for them to come up with the bot rendition of Mike Wise and Ed Berliner. Now, that could be interesting. And the other thing to close that out is, I will never be able to look at Donald Trump again in my life or anything from the past without now seeing the micro penis. It just ruined everything.
I mean, I almost feel like he needs to pay Stormy Daniels for some kind of confirmation that that's not his real. I mean, yeah, I've been in some baseball locker rooms, and that even That was even in pale comparison to a lot of the baseball players that I've seen naked. I shouldn't say that. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, let's definitely not go there. I think we now have just gone over the edge. Next thing, of course, the death of Hulk Hogan. And I got excoriated by some people when I wrote about a little blurb about Hulk Hogan on social media. Because when Hulk Hogan died, I went out, created something on social media. I said, when it comes down to social mores, the media, sports, whatever you want, he was, and he is an icon. He changed things with him and World Wrestling. He was the guy. Everybody around the world knew him. He was as popular at one time as Muhammad Ali. He was known all around the world.
Wow.
No, everybody knew the Hulk.
Everybody knew him in America. He wasn't known internationally like he was not known internationally like Ali.
Well, but I'm saying on the level of Ali. It wasn't like that he was just confined to the United States. He was known. No, I'm not.
Yes.
Let's make this clear. I'm not saying that he was as famous as Muhammad Ali, but I'm saying on that level where certain players, certain individuals, you can go around the world and you can say their name and everybody knows who they are. But the thing we have to stop at is, yes, Hulk Hogan changed the wrestling industry along with Vince McMahon and the WWE, the WWF, whatever it was. I mean, you got people today who worship this guy, who think back when they were kids wearing their Hulkamania shirts and go ahead and eat your vegetables, boys and girls. I mean, they all still talk about it like it's fun. This was not a good guy. At the essence end of his life and career, when you look at it, Mike, here's a guy who basically abused steroids, turned in fellow wrestlers to the WWF when they tried to unionize at the time. So he's basically a scab, an absolute shocking, unbelievable racist. And here he tried to pawn it off by saying, oh, we use the N-word in the locker rooms all the time. I don't care. I don't care. He made the comment, and he used the N-word about a guy that his daughter was dating.
Not a lot of
He's
white.
a racist.
Not a lot of white. Not a lot of white people use the N-word. That I mean, in a work environment that I think is healthy.
I mean, not that I know. Look,
here.
I would probably say that.
Well, I think he did. He did apologize for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like it's different. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Putting a G. Look. I've been against that word forever, and I feel like I don't care if I'm white or not. I feel like I have a kid. When I had a kid, I suddenly had a seat at the table. I don't like hearing it. I don't like hearing it in GGA form. When I listen to my favorite Biggie songs, I get to the part where it goes, true pimp, nah, I say neighbor. I mean, I'm just one of these guys. The first and last time I uttered the word and I never got it out of my mouth, I came home at 5 and I said, Dad, I heard a joke. I want to tell it to you. And I literally said, Daniel Boone was a big man, but the bear was bigger. So he ran and I never got the GGER part out of my mouth before my father's hand went across my face as hard as it could. And I didn't know what the heck happened. I'm crying. And he just looks at me and he says, that's the worst thing you can call a black person in this world. No child of mine will say that in our house. And my father didn't hit me very often. I remembered that for the rest of my life. And I don't care. I'm just like, but either way, like, stop. Stop. Don't tell me as a white person that the N-word is okay. And don't tell me
to make an excuse. That's all Hogan did. And the people who followed him, they made the excuse, oh, it's no big deal. And they even had some black wrestlers come to his defense at that time. They were basically set up by McMahon and everybody else to make sure that the brand stays clean. But there's a lot of others who did come in and excoriate him for this as well, for the use of this word. Don't tell me that it's just a casual word. You said it, you mean it, own it, which he never really did. He kept trying to apologize for it over and over again. And then, of course, to a certain faction of society, you have him then spitting out Trumpamania forever. He became a huge supporter of Donald Trump. And you can look at it, instead of, not trying to make a political statement here, but one has to be made. If you're sitting on the side of Donald Trump, you go, hey, come on, that's no big deal. That's Hulk Hogan, yeah. A wife cheater, a steroid abuser, a scab when it comes down to unions, and also a racist. We're okay with him. If you're not a fan of Trump, you come out and go, this was a guy who just basically sold his soul later in life when he was 65, 70 years of age and wanted to get back on the national scene and wanted to get noticed again. Go away. Yeah. But he didn't. Am I wrong on either one of those ideas?
No, you're not. There is some nuance, like you said before. The guy was an icon, and do we judge people by their worst moments and who they are? Well, that the N-word to me was on tape in a leaked video was not Hulk Hogan's worst moment. The worst moment was he kept on supporting a man that didn't care for people of color. It was clear, and in many ways, that movement is more denigrating than any N-word, and that's more racist than any N-word. But that aside, David Aldridge, ex-colleague of mine,
I read that.
Peripheral friend, I suppose. DC. Everybody knows DA. He's been around for a long time. He wrote a really poignant piece on Facebook about how, as a young black kid, he was all into Trump. I said Trump. He was all into Hulk, and he was like, he told him if he ate his vitamins and he did what he could be anything he wanted to, and he was really a young idol of David Aldridge's, and then he learns that those words weren't really for kids of his color. That Hulk Hogan was a different person than he realized in real life, and Terry Bollea, that guy was an outright racist, and he wasn't a very good person. And it's okay. Like it's the old thing with Michael Jackson. People like to this day will say, "Oh, Michael Jackson, I love Michael Jackson too. Oh my God, he probably was a better therapist for me in my childhood than anybody. Like I used to listen to his music. I used to watch the Jackson 5 cartoons when shit hit the fan at home." And I always wanted to meet him and tell him, like, hey, you really, like, whatever you did. And then when you see Leaving Neverland and you realize that kids were sexually abused by Michael Jackson, and that it wasn't just people looking for money, and that there were many, many accusations over the years, and there were many enablers, including his family over the years, you realize, like, I listen to Michael Jackson now up to Thriller. When it was first reported that he was a pedophile, I don't like the music after that. That's how I deal with it. And so I suppose
it's the same thing, because I'm with you on that, because I got rid of every single Michael Jackson song.
Thunderlips memories from Rocky III, and then just leave it there.
I have a huge library of music, and I'm one of the few guys who still to this day, I won't do it on my phone. I have an iPod, and I have one of the last ones made, and I exclusively put my music on this. And I've got months of music here. I took Michael Jackson off. I deleted everything, because every time I hear Michael Jackson now, I think of him abusing little children every single time. It doesn't matter what he's singing. Ebony and Ivory with Paul McCartney, Ebony and Ivory and a small child down by my ankle. That's all I can think of anymore when it comes down to Michael Jackson. And it's been the same thing with Hulk Hogan for years. I was around when Hulkamania was huge. I found it hysterical, even though I knew it was all fake and it wasn't a real sport. It's all scripted. I knew that when I was younger, because I remember growing up on Bruno Sammartino in New York City and his wrestling, which was all fake and staged, and we all knew it. But every time since that tape came out, I hear Hulk Hogan's name and I think of the N-word immediately. I think of it not only the N-word, but the way it was he said it to his daughter, who was dating a black guy at the time, and he wanted to let her know without any hesitation whatsoever that he did not like black people. So that's why I kind of take Hulk Hogan and I shove him off to the side. He's a non-entity to me at all.
You know what his biggest contribution to society might have been, depending on where you lie. So when the leaked video came out of him having sex with a woman that wasn't his wife, and Deadspin ran it. Do you remember this?
Yes. Well, it was Bubba. It was Bubba the Love Sponge in Jacksonville, his buddy, who helped facilitate that.
Yeah.
And put that through, and it was Gawker, the parent company that owned Deadspin at the time.
Yeah, and it put it on Deadspin, and what happened was because of the privacy laws, Terry Bollea, aka Hulk, the Hulkster, sued Deadspin, i.e. Gawker Media, which had a lot of websites under its umbrella, and was a huge player in the .com world. Well, Peter Thiel, the big Silicon Valley conservative guy, bankrolled Hulk Hogan's legal defense.
Yes.
And they bankrupted Gawker. Like Deadspin's done. All these places are done. If there's anything left, it's a shadow of himself, because Hulk Hogan won a monstrous settlement from them. And basically, it killed careers that probably idiots at Gawker that allowed some of the
stuff. To be honest, I'm going to go ahead and put
I had a love-hate relationship with
it. Killed Gawker, but it also killed Deadspin, which was an objectionable website to begin with in so many ways. I mean, they were pretty good when they started, but then they became nothing more than the sewer-dwelling vermin that basically is out there to scrum around looking for whatever dirt they can find.
Yeah. Deadspin turned into a piece of crap at the end. It's too bad, because it did have something. I had a love-hate relationship with it. Like,
I think everybody.
They would have these great stories on people I love to see get gotcha'd, and then they would have stories about me when I did something stupid. I remember and I remember thinking, okay, you can skewer me all you want. You didn't do the journalist thing and even make a call to ask me about it or get a quote from me. It was just good enough to get me. And the things that I got involved with were stupid internet things where I said Ben Roethlisberger was going to get. I tried to pose a social media experiment on Twitter on my radio show. I ended up getting suspended because it was my Washington Post account. But the bottom line is I was just and fine. I fessed up to I could have come up with 18 different better examples of how to show people that journalism is slipshod now. But the bottom line is, all you do is call me. All you do is call me, and I could have said, "Yeah, I was stupid," or "Screw you." I was trying to prove a point, but they had escaped the basic journalism principle of just calling a frickin' person.
The shock value is what has grabbed all media these days, and this dovetails into a conversation then about Pat McAfee. Here is McAfee, who goes on his show, horribly popular, makes fun of a young lady, pauses off a rumor about her basically dating her boyfriend's dad. Everybody knows who it is because it's on social media, but he gives it credence and it steamrolls. She gets threatened. She gets threats put under the door on notes in her classroom. She had to get out of college. She had to go online. It ruined this woman's life.
Ruined her life.
Ruined it. And 5 months later, not 1, not 2, 5 months later, McAfee, who finally has had a chance to meet the family, and claims, I had to apologize to them. Bullshit. You went and did that and waited 5 months because this is all the litigious nature of what we're into, and I have no proof whatsoever to say this, Mike. I can't prove this, but I can only guess that there's some kind of settlement involved here, and it involves some kind of apology. You son of a bitch, McAfee, you ruined this girl's life, and you waited 5 months. 5! To apologize to her and her family for what you did. You're scum. And you're part of the problem that we have right now in this damn industry, Mike. It's everybody wants to stick something out there and they want to get in somebody's face and they want to throw something out there on social media that destroys somebody. You don't have to do that.
It's awful. It's mean. It's beyond reproach. It's, I don't even put Pat McAfee in the, whatever, sports journalism lane. He's in the entertainment lane. I get it. I remember having this conversation with Whitlock years ago. Like, I was like, Clay Travis, he writes some really irresponsible shit about the vaccine and all this stuff. I go, he's got a pretty big platform now on this Outkick website. And he goes, Mike, you don't get it. He's in the Howard Stern lane. He's in the, no, you're not. You're still a person that has a responsibility with a platform, whether you're Joe Rogan or Stephen Colbert or whoever, to put out stuff that, if it's not completely tasteless, at least it's not harmful. And that stuff is harmful, and that stuff is wrong. And screw Pat McAfee. I told you on this show, I'm 61. I'm playing in this men's league. I suck. I mean, the back of my shirt, they call me the sloth. I can't move. But I will get in shape to fight Pat McAfee for charity. Like, I don't care where it goes to. I will get in shape to get in a ring with that man. I don't care. He's got me by several years. He was an NFL player. I will get in the ring with him and take blows just to land one to his freaking ugly face.
Hey, Mike, he wasn't an NFL player. He was a punter.
This is true. It's true.
He was an
That's a good
eight-season punter for the Indianapolis Colts. And
this is true.
But it's what we have denigrated down to. We have a responsibility on this show as well, whether we reach one person or 10 million people. We don't deal in the bullshit. We don't put anything out there that's going to harm anybody.
Done with it.
Did we just talk about Hulk Hogan? Yes, but we talked about Hulk Hogan and all the factual things about what he did. We didn't make it up. We didn't throw it out there as rumor. It's actually been fact, and it's been out there. This is a guy who basically backs up. And ESPN is just as much to blame for this, too. Because ESPN hires this guy. They give him the platform. They put that notice at the beginning of the show that anything said here is a commentary by the individuals here and does not necessarily reflect ESPN or Disney or whatever else. Bullshit. You give him the platform and you allow it, and you don't punish the guy. He ruins an 18-year-old girl's life. What are we thinking here? And the problem with it is, Mike, there are going to be people who heard that, who heard his apology, and who hear you and I go off the rails here today, and they will say, what's wrong with you guys? He was just kidding around. It wasn't a big deal. It didn't really bother anybody. No, it did. It ruined somebody's life. Yeah. She's going to live with that for the rest of her life now, with people believing that she slept with the father of her boyfriend because a jackass, not only him, but there's also a talk show host in St. Louis who also did the same thing, and Barstool Sports did the same thing. But I'll give Dave Portnoy some credit here, which I normally don't do. He at least came out and apologized for what they did. He took his own guys to task on KFC Sports. Good for you, Dave. It's about time. ESPN didn't do it. They sat back on their fat, greedy asses and just let it ride in the hopes that it would go away. That's not how you do things in life.
Well, I think it's a larger the larger issue for me before we move on is that this is what happens when you monetize the manosphere. This is what happens when you believe that you need to get on the revenue stream of all these angry, white, disenfranchised males that think that the country's going to hell because they're getting replaced or they're not getting off their couches to get jobs or their degrees aren't working. And it's the lonely male epidemic out there that they've tried to monetize, and they have that. But the problem is the people who speak to them are not good people. These are bad people. These are bad people. And these people give you bad messages about women and men relationships. And they give you bad messages about how you interact with people on a civil level in a civil society, irrespective of whether you can't stand them or not. These people make excuses for. I mean, I was on the change the Washington name thing forever, and it's afforded, the best thing that came out of it for me was it's afforded me relationships, real friendships with people in the Native American community, people that, like I have friends, I don't have Native American friends. I don't have friends from Indian country. I have friends who happen to be Native American, and they're just really good, and I've learned a lot about the culture. The fact that Clay Travis is putting out, they want chop back in Atlanta. Look, here it is, the tomahawk chop. There was a pitcher for the Cardinals for several years ago, Ryan Helsey. He was Cherokee Nation during the playoffs. He said, it's really disrespectful. This is my people, and I'm trying to pitch in the playoffs, and these idiots are mocking my culture, my religious practices. Well, these people, they think that mocking another person's culture, and essentially saying that these people are honored. Like with Trump, he wants the Washington football team's old name back all these awful race baiting. I don't care about anybody but white people with nostalgia. Like, guess what? Just because something's nostalgia to you, i.e. the Confederate flag, a
Don't get
name
me
of a
started there. We'll
team,
go off
an
for a
old
week.
Chief Wahoo image. It's like, just because it's personally nostalgic to you doesn't mean it can't hurt someone else. So shut the hell up and move forward. This isn't being enlightened or woke. It's just being a better person.
That's all it really comes down to at the end of the day is everybody tries to stick this into some sort of a column somewhere that, it's all just about being woke. No, it's not. Mike, I'm for the life of me, I cannot figure out why people, this whole thing about nicknames with the Washington Commanders and the Cleveland Guardians, why there are some people, and everyone I've seen seems to be an entitled white person who comes out and says, it's no big deal. Look, we need to change the name back. That's the way it was. And I can't get used to saying Commanders, and I can't get used to saying Guardians. Then it's your problem, not mine, not anyone else's.
Right.
They were both racist. And not only that, I mean, I wrote a commentary and put it up on my Substack page, which, by the way, if anybody's out there, you can check out what I wrote and what I did as a video on Substack at Ed Berliner, where I basically had to rack my brain thinking about, do you not realize that Chief Wahoo was the most racist mascot I'd ever seen anywhere, with the red skin and the fake nose and the lips? It was right out of the 1920s. It's insulting.
Yeah, it was like a native, the native people's equivalent of Uncle Ben on the rice box, or Aunt Jemima, or the mammy on the cream of wheat box. I mean, it's just like some images, slave images. Like if they bring back crappy memories for people of a certain race or background, like okay, fine. So put them in your basement. Like, take them away. Why do we need to insult people? If I was into the Confederate flag and I had relatives on both sides of civil,
because they can.
If I had relatives on both sides of this, if I had relatives on both sides of the Civil War, Ed, I did. I have a great grandfather, Samuel Goodwin Stout, was at Gettysburg, was paroled at Appomattox. If I was really into, like, putting my Confederate roots out there and, flying and saying, hey, this is about Southern rights, this is about my heritage, the first black person or Jewish person or anybody that came up to me in my neighborhood and said, hey, I know what it means to you. For me, it was oppression. For me, it was anti-Semitic. I would be like, you know what, John or Fred or whatever, if that's what it means to you, I'm going to take it down and put it in my garage. Like, whoa, like, just be a decent human being.
When we were taking vacations, lived in New York and used to take driving vacations to Florida, I was maybe 12, 13 years old. We used to drive at the time, a lot of it was US 1 because I-95 was not completely constructed from north to south. And I cannot remember the town. If I thought about it, I will. But there was a town in South Carolina that as we went through the town, there was a billboard. And I'm 12, 13. My grandfather was a master electrician in New York City. He was a business owner. He used the N-word. He did it a lot. I mean, it was just part of his generation. The man was born in 1900 or something like that. But there was a billboard that we passed, and it was the White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, 3 of them astride white horses in full raise of the horses. Welcome to Klan country. Holy shit. I mean, like I said, I'm 12, 13-year-old. It was at that moment that I decided this is wrong. I mean, something's wrong in all this. But the problem with it is, Mike, the people who agree with Trump don't see it as being wrong. They see it as heritage. We're honoring Redskins. We're honoring Indians. And they'll come back and say, hey, we got somebody here in Tallahassee, Florida, who says, it's no big deal if you use Seminoles. We're actually real happy that you use them. We like it, as a matter of fact. Yeah, that's because the Seminole Nation gets paid. They get a lot of money for the use of that, and they've been for years.
And the Oklahoma Seminole tribe, the original, where the Oklahoma Seminole tribe hates it. They have a proclamation against it. They want it gone. So yeah, Yeah, the quickest thing. I mean, there are a few native schools that still use the team's name. Like, okay, great. Like you and I aren't, going and co-opting Jay-Z or Young Jeezy for the day and saying, "Hey, these people love the N bomb. They've commercially profited off it. It's time we realize it's okay for everyone." Like, no, that's not how it works. We don't because a couple black people in America think Amos and Andy was great. We don't bring back white people doing blackface on television anymore. Like, that's not how it works. So start showing our native brothers and sisters the same respect you do other ethnicities and minorities, and maybe we'll turn into a more friendly society.
And maybe we'll stop threatening people like the president does at this time, where if you don't knuckle under and change your name back to
God.
Redskins, I'll get involved with Congress and we'll take away the funding for your new stadium that has already been approved. And by the way, while we're doing this show, it's already been announced that basically the deal's been cut. The stadium is going to go through. Look, I applaud the Cleveland franchise. I applaud the Washington franchise for basically saying, no, we changed it. We're not going back to the old ways because it's wrong. And until people realize it's wrong, we're going to continue to fight these battles. Yes, we stray from talking about sports, but this is about sports.
I don't applaud the franchises. I applaud the people that made them change it because it became a money thing for them, and they realized.
The people at the franchise.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Right. You're right.
The
Okay.
people who sit there as the ownership and they make the changes. I absolutely have to agree with them. One last thing before we get out of here, because we're running a little short on time today.
Yeah.
The NFL and ESPN are about to cut a deal. And the NFL is going to buy 10% of ESPN. It's going to be $1 billion deal. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you thought it was expensive to watch games on pay-per-view and on cable and on social media and other forms, you ain't seen nothing yet. By the time these two get involved and they start pushing out the costs. But you know something, Mike? Maybe this is just the best. We know that ESPN and the NFL are in bed for each other. ESPN is nothing more than a marketing tool for the NFL, and the NFL allows them to be it. But at the same time, this comes down to something you and I have talked about in a lot of senses here. If ESPN is in bed with the NFL, how do we know anything reported on ESPN about the NFL is true, is real? How do we know they're going to give us any real news? They don't now. They basically coddle the NFL, and they don't do any investigative pieces on anything. Oh, yeah, there's that CTE thing. Let's let that go away. But we don't have to worry about it. It'll just be a mouthpiece for the NFL, and everybody will be happy. That's what's going to happen.
That's all, folks.